From the kitchen of Peggy Richards of Peru, Indiana,
in the year of our Lord, 1982. First, you need canned vegetables, lots of cans. Your husband's railroad buddies will bring them when they come over to the house to make picket signs and talk about the fall of the working man. Most likely, they'll bring canned corn, green beans, stewed tomatoes, peas, maybe a few potatoes and carrots. But just about anything will work if you're desperate. Next, brown 5 pounds of hamburger. Now, ground beef, not chuck around. Meat this cheap usually pops quite a bit, leaves a greasy film all over the top of your stove, so use a splatter screen. Drain off the fat into an old margarine tub. All right, you don't usually save meat drippings, but who knows when the strike will be over? Crisco isn't cheap. Get out the turkey roaster, dump all the ingredients inside. Oh, check the pantry again. There might be something you've forgotten. That squash you canned last summer, tin of Spam, jar of pickle relish. Oh, the 6-pack of V8 your son wouldn't drink. Add tomato juice or water till there's enough to go around. Simmer till heated through. Serve with slices of buttered white bread, the cheap generic brand or damaged or about to go bad kind. Reheat the next day. And the next. And the next until you run out and have to make more or the strike's over, whichever comes first. I'm stirring up the latest batch when my husband Earl comes in. Strike's almost over, Peg, I'm sure of it. Well, I'm not so sure. This is the longest strike I can remember. Before, the simple threat of strike was usually enough, maybe just a week's worth of wrangling till things got settled. Enough time for just one batch. I'm on my 3rd batch of strike stew. When it's gone, that's it. No more hamburger in the freezer. The union ran out of strike funds after the first week. Our checking account is tapped. And the $100 bill Earl and I keep in the freezer for emergencies was defrosted and spent last week when our son Joey said if he didn't get some new Converse basketball shoes, he'd die of shame. Earl leans over the turkey roaster. Smells good. So calm, as if this is just a regular meal. Oh, me? I want to scream, I'm so scared. I try not to think about the stack of bills on top of the toaster. The men shuffle into the kitchen. They nod their thanks, but say little. Earl gets a stick of butter out of the refrigerator and throws the wrapper away in the garbage can. If my mother had been here, she would have whipped that oily piece of paper out of there and folded it up and saved it for greasing pans and cookie sheets. For the first time in my life, my mother's hoarding seems pretty reasonable. She always says, if you had lived during the Depression, you would not be the frivolous woman that you are. And I'm starting to think she's right. I thought that $100 in the freezer was enough. So I give the stew a stir, trying not to think about that butter wrapper. In the dining room, Earl and the men eat, talk about how arbitration's going. The best they can hope for is even less than what they started with. If they win, they still lose. Then what do I say? Congratulations, I'm so happy we're making less money. I know it's not fair to think this way. Earl's doing what he can, but how much less money will he be fighting for next time? When Earl signed on in 1967, he had a choice between the Peru Utilities Company and the Chesapeake in Ohio, and I'll admit, the railroad seemed like a safe bet back then. Earl didn't know 15 years later semis would rule the world, and neither did I. But here's the rub. I see the way things are now, and maybe even the way they'll be, and sometimes I hate my husband because he can't see these things for himself. And I hate myself for thinking this way. The men bring their bowls back into the kitchen. They look at that turkey roaster thinking how nice a second bowl would be, but they know that means there won't be enough stew to go around, so they don't ask. And I can't offer. As they drive off, Earl waves, gives me the thumbs up. By the time Joey gets home from school, I got potato pancakes frying on the stove. I found 4 withered potatoes trying to take root under the sink. I thought it might be a nice change for him. Joey groans as soon as he sees that turkey roaster. Oh no, please, not again. When will this stupid strike be over with? Joey is 13. I made potato pancakes, special treat. Swell. Somewhere deep within, I feel like slapping him, but not strongly enough to actually do it. He's too young to see how strike stew gets made and what it stands for, so instead, I hand him a bowl of stew. Eat. And he does. But only because there's nothing else. At 6 o'clock, the snow outside turns a blue-purple in the cold winter light. The men will be picketing till midnight. They need coffee and cocoa. I call to Joey, who's watching The Incredible Hulk. Joey, get your coat on. We're going to go visit Dad. Oh, do I have to? It's cold. Yes, you have to. It'll cheer him up. He hasn't seen you all day. When we pull up to the yard office, the union men are standing around fiery barrels of wood, warming their hands. Some sit in lawn chairs with their picket signs between their legs so they can keep their hands in their pockets. Joey stares. He's never seen his dad on strike before. Not really. Not this part. Joey carries a thermos for me. And when we walk up to the men, they clap him on the back and call him a good man. I don't think anybody's ever called Joey a man before, and his face is bursting with smile. I pour the coffee, Earl pours the cocoa, and some men sip from the flasks in their pockets, and we stand around the barrels listening to the men talk. Mergers and corporate acquisition programs and retirement incentive plans. They struggle to hold these words up to the light of the fire, to understand what these words have to do with the fact of them standing there, and they decide it means layoffs, pure and simple. And they all nod their head in agreement. As if that settles the matter. On the drive home, I'm trying to figure out how to make the strike stew last another week when I see Joey staring out the window. I ask him if he knows what street we're on. Canal Street, duh. I tell him that once upon a time, the men of Peru used to work on the Wabash and Erie Canal, and then the railroads came and the river became just a river again, and some men got jobs on the railroad. What did the other men get? Angry. And now the interstate highways have come. Well, what will they do with the tracks? Maybe pave them over, turn them into, I don't know, maybe a way to bicycle your way from Chicago to Cincinnati. That's crazy. Yeah. And some men will get jobs driving big rigs or something like that. Then he asks me real quiet, what will the other men get? And I know what he means. What will Dad get? What will I get? I don't know the answer, but I do know at this moment, my son and I have the same picture in our heads. It's 1982, and 1882, and 2022, and there's a bunch of proud men standing around a burning barrel talking about the way things